record. It's going to record. So here we are. All right. Let's get straight to today's matter. What we want to talk about is a discussion based on who is a SAST officer and why do we need a SAST officer, right? So there are many industries out there that actually need a SAST officer, right? In their numbers, I can try to list a few of them. We do have construction industry, right? Construction industry has got many, has got a lot of need in terms of SAST officers, right? So we do have construction industries. What are they doing out there? We have got construction companies that are getting jobs from either government or other spheres of government, such as you have your municipality, whether it's local or district municipalities. We have got a lot of people out here who are getting jobs. For example, where we are right now, we are in Mbangeni, and if you move around, there are roads that are being fixed. We do have rural areas where people are actually installing pipes. Companies are installing pipes for water. They are creating tanks for water and stuff. So at the end of the day, you will see that there are construction companies that are out here who are actually working. So they need a SAST officer, right? So there comes the great question here where we say, which industries really need a SAST officer? So I've just indicated a construction industry is an example of such an industry. We also have SAST officers in mining industry, right? A mine is regarded as one of most risky working place or working environment you can imagine. So they also, or they too, need a SAST officer, right? We also have companies that are in heavy industries such as manufacturing. Companies that are manufacturing huge things or even small things, whether you are manufacturing plastic, you are manufacturing cement, you are manufacturing a lot of things, you will find out that these companies really need a SAST officer, right? They really need what? A SAST officer. So time and again, they need to make sure that they create a position for a SAST officer. Oil and gas sector. We also have oil and gas sector, companies that are dealing with oil, companies that are dealing with gas. These items that they deal with are highly flammable, are highly risky. Therefore, there is need of a SAST officer there. We also have transport and logistics. Once you are running a company that does transport and logistics, you would understand that there's a lot of risky in items that you are actually carrying, in items that you are trying to transport. We also have SAST officers in warehousing and retail sector. We also have SAST officers in healthcare system as well as pharmaceutical industries. So, and many other high risk environment. I have met SAST officers with people in schools, big schools out there. They do employ a SAST officer. I've met a SAST officer at a setup of a film industry when people are actually filming, be it a small short film or a big film and stuff, because of things or stunts that they are actually involved in terms of insurance, for insuring certain things that they are involved in when they are doing filming, they are doing motion pictures. They too end up demanding to have a safety officer. So this is the purpose of our meeting today, where we would want to actually talk or to discuss or to actually engage each other on items that are of great importance and ask ourselves, but why are we choosing the career of becoming a SAST officer, right? So another thing that we need to also to understand for a person who is choosing a career of SAST officer, we also need to get down and understand the history of health and safety at workplace, because we do have different types of health and safety. It can be health and safety at your home, right? Which I can term domestic health and safety, or I can say household health and safety. But we do have a very important health and safety, which is a workplace health and safety, which is now what we call occupational health and safety. The reason why we are calling it occupational is because it's at workplace. So over and above having all these other aspects in health and safety, we want people who are working to be safe. We want people to work without having to be involved in injuries or having to be involved in accidents or being exposed to hazards or exposed to hazardous situations. So who exactly at work has that responsibility? It is you, the safety officer, right? Who exactly has that responsibility of making sure that these things don't happen? It's you as a safety officer. Now, many people are coming to this industry or they are coming to join, whether they are doing SEMTRAC, SHEMTRAC, Shekman, some they call it COMSOC 1, COMSOC 2, many other courses that are there in health and safety. People are coming there because they want to join occupational health and safety. You are in a right place. Lusatec does that for you, fine. But deep down, good people, you also need to understand that when, as an individual, you need to have an appetite of understanding occupational health and safety deeper than what I can teach as an instructor, deeper than what a textbook can give you as a guide, deeper than what an assignment or a test can test you as an assessment. At the end of the day, you also need to go further and understand what occupational health and safety is about. Right, let me go back a little bit and then try to define who exactly is a safety officer. What would be the best definition of a safety officer that you can come up with? Okay, you can come up with your own definitions wherever you are, it's fine. I would define a safety officer as a professional responsible for implementing health and safety measures, right? So I would define a safety officer as a professional person who is responsible for what? Let me just put it out there so that we can be able to see that, right? So I would define a safety officer as a professional responsible for implementing health and safety measures. And I'll end there because the job of a safety officer rotates there where you are implementing health and safety measures. And in the process of implementing health and safety measures, we expect you to actually understand your role, right? To understand your role, what exactly is your greatest role as a safety officer? Look at this one. We are saying the role of a safety officer is in preventing workplace accidents and ensuring compliance with safety regulations. So that's a safety officer. And I thought today our major thing is let's not go deep into the topics. Let's just be here and talk about who exactly is a safety officer. So going back to my definition, you are a safety officer out there because you are responsible for implementing health and safety measures, right? So you would want to understand what exactly is health in terms of work or wherever you are working. You would also want to understand what exactly is safety in terms of workplace. What is it that we talk about as safety? You also want to understand what exactly we talk about as environment, because at the end of the day, these three things, they go together. Safety, health, environment. Safety, health, environment. Even though it's most of the time we refer and say occupational health and safety. But you must understand that occupational health and safety is, in a broad sense, those three things, which is your safety, your health, the environment, right? So what we are saying here is, if you look at the first thing here, which we're talking about, we are talking about safety, right? So what exactly is safety? Yeah, well, I would want people to then get deeper to understand what exactly would you say is safety, right? Whether you are at work or you are at home, even though here mostly we are referring to workplace safety. But let's say you are at home, wherever you are right now. what is it that you would say it's safety? What is it that you would say now you are safe at your home, right? How do you then become safe at home where you are? What are the aspects of safety that you really, really need to have at your workplace or at your home for you to say, now I'm safe at my home, All right, let me look into it. For it to be safe at home, it basically means that you have taken away hazards, right? So you are in a position where you are free from what? From hazards. Hazards are gone. So if hazards are gone, or they are taken care of, because sometimes hazards can't go completely. You can't get away or get rid of hazards completely. If these hazards are taken care of, which means there's control measures for hazards, then you can say it's safe. So we are coming back and say, what is the role of a safety officer? A safety officer, his role is to make sure that there is health and safety at workplace. And we said occupational health and safety can be summarized in 3 ways. And we have said these ways are what? Safety, health, environment. And right now I'm talking about safety, to say, when can we then say a workplace is safe? Right? When can we then say wherever you are right now, you are safe? It basically means there is no exposure to hazards. Or if the hazards are there around you, those hazards are being controlled. If these hazards are being controlled, then you know very well that nothing will happen to me. Then you feel safe, right? For example, right now, you might be in your house, at work, wherever. You know that nobody's going to come and snatch your phone away. You know that nobody's going to come and stab you there, right? You know nobody's going to come and beat you up. You know that there is clean water to drink, there is clean toilets to use, there is properly food that is prepared, etc, etc, etc. All those things, if you sum them up, you are going to then say, I am safe, because all the hazards that are there at your workplace are being controlled, right? So you then say, okay, I'm safe. So that is the safety part that we're talking about. Let's move on to the next part, which is health. When we say people are health, right, there is a contribution on safety. It basically means that the hazards have been controlled enough that this person is now healthy. Because if you are exposed to hazards, if you are not safe, then it basically means that you won't end up being healthy. Remember, there are aspects that are important when you talk about somebody's health. You would want to check if the physical well-being of a person is okay. You would want to check if the mental well-being of a person is okay. You would want to check if, say, the financial well-being of a person is okay. You would also want to check if the spiritual well-being of a person is okay, and many other facets you can add on to create a healthy person. So you can see how these things, they connect. They also connect with environment, because environment basically means your surroundings. If you define environment basically in simple English, environment is your surroundings, right? It can be your relationship with nature, that's environment. It can be your relationship with items that are around you, such as your equipment, buildings that I'm using right now, or even this computer that I'm in front of. So it is the environment that I'm within right now. So environment basically is your relationship with whatsoever is surrounding you. So when we talk about SHE, which is safety, health, environment, now we are saying aspects of environment must not be in a position where they will affect your health. So you are safe, it means it contributes to your health. Your environment contributes to health. And then now we have got a safe and a healthy environment at workplace. That's actually what we are arguing today, and say it is the job of a safety officer to make sure that these aspects are taken care of. Right. So to my students out there and other people who are aspiring to become safety officers, yes, join us at Lusatech. We will be able to take you through these aspects. However, it should be also in your heart. It should be also in your a passion to understand that occupational health and safety cannot just be a profession alone. It should also be a culture. It should be also a behavior that people should engage in a long run, because at the end of the day, my argument and anybody's argument in terms of occupational health and safety is that you cannot borrow life, you cannot lend life, right? So if you are at workplace and you are exposed to hazards, you are exposed to unsafe environment, you are exposed to a number of incidents that can happen, you might result in death. You might result in near death. You might result in permanent disability, serious injuries, loss of hearing, loss of sight, loss of taste, this and that. A lot of things can happen. Now, I said life, you can't borrow it or lend it. There is no way you are going to go and ask for this again, right? If you have got a scar that has been marked by a wound that was inflicted on you some few years back, the scar is still there. It's going nowhere, right? Even if you heal, but the scar is still there. So even if you are broken, that part that has been broken will never be the same again. Or it can be even worse, you might die, lose life. And when you lose life, what will happen to the people who are left behind? So we are coming back, good people, and argue and say, what is the role of a safety officer? A role of a safety officer is to make sure that you then implement health and safety measures to make sure that these things don't happen. Again, you are there to avoid all workplace accidents while you are ensuring that there's compliance, because of course there's always a law that you should abide in, right? So basically that's the part where we can be able to say who exactly is a safety officer. Let's look at a legal basis, the legal basis that actually forces us to end up having to employ or to end up being safety officers, right? We do have what we call an act. Remember, an act is a legislation that is passed via the parliament. There are people out there in the parliament whom we voted for whatever reasons, and they are there to actually work on approving, designing, constructing, or whatsoever laws, right? So they do them and they call them bills. And once a bill is passed in all these houses, as they name them, it then goes to the presidency, which is the entire office led by the president. In case of South Africa, it's led by Ramaphosa there. So our president then sits down with his team and they look into the bill. Once they are satisfied with it, they pass it, and it's now called an act, right? It is then passed and it's then called an act. And each act is then taken to a particular department, and that department becomes a custodian of that act. The minister at that particular moment or at that particular term is then responsible for creating or for designing or for drafting what we call regulations. Now, remember, an act can be able to instruct you or to show you the way that this is what's supposed to be done. But for you to actually know step by step of doing it, the minister, together with his or her team, need to come up with what we call regulations. So regulations are actually there to assist people to utilize instructions or to execute instructions that are given by an act, because an act can just give an instruction. But how to execute that instruction comes through what we call regulations. So in these situations where we are talking about occupational health and safety, we are saying the Department of Employment and Labor, which is the department that is the custodian of what? Of occupational health and safety, is the one that is actually responsible for drafting and approving and creating regulations. As of date in South Africa, there are regulations that are still yet to be passed, but we are currently using the regulations that were passed in 2014, while the act that we are using in OHS was passed in 1993. So the act is called Occupational Health and Safety Act, Act number 85 of 1993. To everyone out there who is studying safety officer, Everyone out there who is in the occupational health and safety industry or fraternity, or anybody who is aspiring to understand what occupational health and safety is, need to make sure that you read that act, which I have said is Occupational Health and Safety Act, Act number 85 of 1993. Those who are studying with Lusatech, you already have them. I have posted to you. It's a huge textbook full of pages explaining this act. Take your time, get in there and find out. For those who are not studying with Lusatech, who are joining us through social media and other platforms, you feel free to contact us. We'll be able to send you the copy of this act, or you can be able to visit the Department of Employment and Labor. You will find the act also there. All right, let's move on from there and talk about another act that also can be of effect, or that bears effect in terms of health and safety. When it comes to mines, in the mines there, you talk about coal mines, gold mines, and many other different mines that are in South Africa. They are actually not really using Occupational Health and Safety Act, even though they have got some sections where they can be able to apply it. They actually have their own act, which is called Mine Health and Safety Act, MHSA. MHSA is an act that was, it's Act 29 of 1993. It was enacted in 1996, actually, sorry for that, 1996. So with this act, it plays a role in ensuring compliance in the mining sector, and it's a little bit similar to Occupational Health and Safety Act, but it does give directives or direction specifically for mining sector. All right, moving on, good people, we also have other acts that we can use, such as NEMA Act, that is your National Environment Management Act. We also have other acts about noise pollution. We have got acts that talks about dust. We have got acts that talks about general working conditions of people. We call it the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. We have got Equity Act. We have got COIDA Act. There are many other acts that can also apply in the fraternity of working environment. However, ours is to dwell much on Occupational Health and Safety Act. Right? All right. Let me then list duties of a safety officer. Our lesson today is not going to be this as long as usual. Those who are joining us live on Facebook, I understand that network is a bit problematic, but bear with us as we try by all means to give this lesson. Those who are joining us via our normal platform, which is your Google Meet, they are fine. The network is fine. I can confirm that. Let's continue now and then look into what are the duties of a safety officer. What are the duties of safety officer? I'm gonna try to read each statement maybe twice so that we can understand it. And then those who are taking notes, they can be able to take down notes. Those who are listening is also fine. Number one of the duties of a safety officer is to conduct risk assessment and hazard identification, right? So you would want to conduct risk assessment and hazard identification. So that's quite an important part there. That's quite an important part of a safety officer, for you to know that your job is actually to conduct risk assessment and hazard identification. This is something we talked about yesterday. We touched base on how to conduct risk assessments and hazard identification. We will still be going ahead doing that. Like those who have seen it on our WhatsApp group, I have indicated that each and every day, these lessons are going to be there from 1 o'clock up to 2 o'clock. So always make a date with us. So conducting risk assessment and hazard identification is one of the tasks that you would find a safety officer doing. Okay, let's look at the second task that is coming up here. You as a safety officer, you would try by all means to make sure that you ensure compliance with occupational health and safety laws and company policies, right? So it is your job to make sure that you comply. The company must comply, because when a company is not complying, what's going to happen? Department of Labor will come, and at some point they can impose fines. A company can be fined about 50,000 or even more, right? So imagine if a company is losing that amount of money just because when as a safety officer, you were unable to do your job. So as a safety officer, it is your job to make sure that you ensure compliance. Hence, in the construction industry, the first thing that they would demand you to produce is a safety file. What? So you get the first thing that they're going to say, they say, safety officer, you must have a safety file, because a safety file becomes proof that you are working towards ensuring that there's compliance, right? So that is one of the things that we would expect a safety officer to be doing, right? A safety officer is also supposed to be conducting what we call safety audits and inspections, right? Safety audits and inspections are also part and parcel of what a safety officer does. So from time to time, you would do safety audits and you inspect your workplaces so that you can be able to come up with a analysis of what really needs to be done and what really needs to be maintained, what needs to be removed and stuff like that, so that the company or your workplace can remain as safe as possible, right? Another job or another task that would expect a safety officer to conduct or to have as a safety officer is for you to be part and parcel of doing investigations. There are investigations that are very important, which we call incident investigations, accident reports. You need to do some findings, right? You need to then, after that, come up with the recommendations to say what do you recommend should be done at that particular workplace, so that if there were incidents and accidents, how do you then control them and stuff like that? You see, a safety officer has a lot on his or her plate because of such. All right, another task that would expect you to be doing as a safety officer, another task that will be expecting you to do as a safety officer is to make sure that you conduct training, right? So you do training and educating of employees on safety practices, because we assume that as a safety officer, you understand all the safety practices. So it is your duty for you now to conduct training so that you can be able to train those that are that are not in the know-how. So you would then carry on stuff and take people into confidence for them to understand now that, look, this is the safety things and stuff like that. So you would want to see a safety officer doing training and educating of employees on safety practices. All right. Okay, let me then wind up the list. I think I still have more here. Okay, yes. Conducting emergency preparedness plans, right? I think we have seen where people, they do emergency drills, right? People, they do emergency drills. Which ones are those? For example, you are at workplace, right? And then they just sound an alarm. Sound an alarm. Then people start running, going to the assembly point. You start marking registers. You start doing what you could be doing when something happens. So usually some of the emergencies that we expect at work, example is fire, right? We expect that there can be fire at your workplace. So in situations like that, we would actually expect people to be prepared. We would expect people to actually be prepared to do that. So what do you do as a safety officer? You would conduct and coordinate emergency preparedness plans and also do drills, which I'm just explaining as we speak. So there is quite a lot that a safety officer needs to be doing. So the list is actually growing. Let's look into the other things that a safety officer should be doing. Safety officer need to be monitoring the correct use of PPE, right? So you are actually responsible for advising on which PPE should be used. You are also responsible for monitoring that there is correct use of these PPE. You are also responsible for making sure that people are trained on how to use PPE, right? Because you wouldn't expect people to just know how to use PPE. I always tell people when I'm training that, guys, it's difficult for you to assume that people know how to use PPE. Because at some point you give someone a mask and they don't know how to put it on. Ask our president, they will tell you he could not put a mask somewhere there at some point. It's impossible to just assume that people know things, right? We also have situations where people, you give them PPE, they take PPE and start using it for other different reasons. We also have situations where you give people PPE and they do not see reasons of using it. For example, if I would tell you right now that this is a construction site, or this is a mining site, or this is an industrial whatsoever, can you always put you on your helmet? Some people would argue and say, there are no objects falling on me, so why should I put on a helmet, right? It's because you have not trained them for the use of that particular PPE, right? So as a safety officer, make sure that you are the one who actually request proper PPE after analysis. After doing so, you make sure that the PPE is issued to your employees. And then after that, make sure that you monitor the correct use of the PPE, of course, after having trained them how to use that particular equipment. All right, let's look at the last thing that we can say a safety officer does when he or she is at workplace. Would expect a safety officer to be a workplaces do have what called SOPs, which is a standard operating procedure, right? Standard operating procedure. So you would be responsible to make sure that you implement those and make them work for your company, right? So in a nutshell, good people, I'm winding up here. This is what is a safety officer. So our today's lesson was based on us discussing what is a safety officer, where do safety officers work, which industries attract safety officers. So we have discussed that. I would expect you now to go into your learning management system, which is our LMS or your learning portal, log in there, attend to the work that is there. Sometimes when you are studying at Lusatech, you might have not gotten a chance to discuss with somebody what it is that is there. You understand that you would find out that there are announcements that the instructor can be able to give you through that learning portal. Please check your emails and continuously log in. I would expect a person who is studying to log in every day. If you spend 2-3 days without logging, then it basically means you are not serious about what you are doing. Keep logging in every day, read something, study something, and continue like that. There are about 10 assignments that are there in wherever you are studying, right? There are 10 assignments there. Make sure those assignments you are attempting them. They are timed, some are not timed, but you also have 3 attempts. If you fail the first one, you can do the second one. If you fail the second one, you can do the third one. If you fail the third one, then you have to contact me so that I can be able to have a one-on-one with you. I teach you maybe for 30 minutes one-on-one to explain to you why are you missing something, so that I can be able to then give you another chance if possible. So that is how we do. So at Lusatech, I don't expect anyone to be failing because we will support you. It's not that you are not going to fail because our stuff is easy, no, but you are not going to fail because we will support you each and every stage, right? Another important thing that I wanted to raise people is that this course will close on 30 April, right? So that we can open for those who are registering for May, right? We cannot open this forever. You have to be able to finish all your assignment before 30 April so that we can be able to put new people who are coming for May intake. And when you will be done knowing very well that your results are there at Lusatech, and when you are ready in terms of payments and other things, they will sort out your certificate and you will receive it. Let me take questions now. Anyone with a question? Right? If there is no questions, you can always ask me questions even on what you call that, on WhatsApp. In case you want to ask questions privately, you can always come to my WhatsApp and ask me directly. I'll be able to answer questions. Ladies and gentlemen, good luck with your studies. We'll meet again tomorrow, same place, same time.